you ready to make technology work for you? Tune in to Act on Tech, the podcast where we break down the latest tech trends and show you how to boost your productivity at home and in your business. So, subscribe to Act on Tech today and visit alexcustomtech.com to see how we can take your business to the next level. That's Act on Tech, your guide to smarter tech for a smarter business. Alex Custom Tech, IT means integrity and trust.
Hello, hi, this is Alex of Alex Custom Tech, and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about Zero Trust Network, or let's see what's the acronym for it. I think ZNSA. Why they call it that, I don't even know, because it doesn't even match the acronym. So Zero Trust Network or Zero Trust Architecture, and we're going to be talking about that. So just want to say what it's not. So it's not a software to purchase, or you can't get it by getting a particular software. So it's more of a policy or behavior or mindset or top-down steps in architecture. Just a multiple things you have to do to achieve zero trust security. So zero trust security, zero trust architecture, zero trust networks. So I'm saying, like, so it's kind of convoluted because different names for it, but let's talk about what it is. So we talked earlier in an earlier podcast about VPNs. And the reason we're talking about VPN, I remember making a big deal about the definition of a VPN and how it's marketed and what it really does. And I remember telling you guys that VPN doesn't necessarily secure your traffic because of what it's actually created to do, which was it was created to get you to resources in a location that you actually not physically are at. So of course, hackers figured out a way to tap into vulnerabilities with VPN. Now, VPNs aren't safe, but it's not as secure as we would like it to be. So this is the approach that they have now to solve some of those problems. But with me in life, there's no solutions in life. There's only trade-offs. We talked about that earlier, and people might debate me on that philosophy that I have, but from what I'm seeing as 45 years on the earth, that's what I see. There's no solutions on this, just on the trade-offs. So when I talk about security in one of my podcasts, I told you that for you to get secure, the more secure you are, the less convenient you are. The less convenient you are, the more secure you are, the less convenient you are. The less convenient you are, the more. So, okay, the more secure you are, the less convenient you are. The less secure you are. How am I saying this right? If you are more secure, right, you're less convenient, right? And if you are more convenient, you're less secure. It took me like 5 minutes just to say that. So that's the whole idea of there's no solution in life, only trade-offs. So you're trading off security for convenience and vice versa. All right, I'm not going to edit that. I'm going to leave that because it's authentic. So with the zero trust architecture, if you will, right, or mindset, right, it's a approach. How can I explain it? Because this is the idea behind my podcast is to take these terminology and these concepts and these technical jargon and like bring it down to earth where you can understand it. So I'm going to use analogies heavily in this podcast because I need to, because it's a concept and it builds on my previous knowledge about networking, and so it makes sense to me, but explain it to laymen is going to be a little bit difficult, but I'm going to try so we can do that. So I'm going to give you the concept. All right, so imagine a network as a castle, right? And the medieval castles of old England or Scotland, right? So if you see this, you have an idea of what I'm talking about. Think about like Macbeth or one of those classical literatures, and when you think about castle, how it's set up. So you have the walls, and the walls are a way to protect invaders from coming in, and you have a high wall, which is known in tech as the firewall. It's a high wall, so the only way for the invaders to come in is have to scale the wall, and you have like maybe one gate, right? One entrance, and sometimes you have like a bridge, or you have like a moat. Like a moat is like you dig a hole around the castle, and there's like water, and sometimes people throw like crocodiles and all kind of weird stuff in there so you have longer one way to get in, and you have the one entrance point, and then you can just focus on the entrance point. And you might have like arches on the walls or whatever, but the walls are high to scale, right? So that's how. And then everybody inside the castle you can assume is trustworthy because they're already inside. You only worry about what's outside. So your network will have your servers and your applications sitting on your servers, and your devices like your computer, your printer, everything inside the castle. You're not worried about that stuff because everybody inside the castle should be in the castle, and you ain't gotta worry about them. So that's what a perimeter network is. This is the classical term we use in networking for those networks, right? Everybody has them. That's been around from the beginning of time as far as networks. All right. Even my house is set up as a perimeter network. Now, when you're talking about zero trust, I'm gonna give you like a comic book analogy. I'm gonna kind of geek out a little bit. So, Batman has a philosophy of not trusting anybody. All right, and so even the people he works with in the Justice League, even Robin and everybody he works with, he doesn't trust. He doesn't trust anyone, and because he doesn't trust anyone, he's not easily manipulated. He's not easily attacked, right? Because he trusts. He doesn't trust. He verifies every time he verifies. So take the concept of the castle that I just gave you, what we know as the perimeter network. What if we took it a step further? What if we say, okay, yeah, we have the moat and all this other stuff outside, and the walls are there. What if we started to treat everyone in the castle as untrustworthy? Then we say, okay, you might be the court jester, but I need an ID and I need biometrics, right? You have to prove that you are who you say you are. One of the reasons why is because we might be in an organization and Sally might be working with us, and we see Sally all the time, and you have her badge and we see her all the time, but she got fired and you didn't know. So you saw Sally, but Sally wasn't supposed to be there, but you thought she was supposed to be there. All right. So the network doesn't trust anyone, even people are inside. So it's more of a I don't trust who is inside the castle, and I don't trust who is outside the castle. I don't trust anybody until I get authentication from that person. It's authenticated. It's verified that you are who you say you are. Now let's take it a step. Let's take it out of the analogy and put it into the real world. So you have a business, and now businesses just don't have applications sitting on their hardware in the office, which is kind of one of my little things. But we have Salesforce and other cloud applications and resources that we pull from the cloud. Okay, so the network is not just now a castle, it's the castle and other castles, and everything's linked to everything. So it's like very complicated. So we need a way to secure everything and all the traffics and all the tunnels, right? So what Zero Trust does, it says, okay, we're going to treat people inside the network, people who quote unquote have access, or quote unquote supposed to have access to things, or we're going to treat them all as strangers, all as potential hackers, all as vulnerability. So only people with certain criterias have access to certain application for a certain time, right? You see how restrictive it is? So you have to be who you say you are. You have to verify that, and you have to have biometrics or two-step authentication. Then you have to have the right hardware or devices to access the service you want, and you only get a limited time, or they use geomapping or geolocation to make sure that you are where you're supposed to be when you're accessing this stuff. Because again, people are from home and that kind of stuff. So let's work out the scenario. You have an organization, you have a sales team, right? They don't always work in the location that you are, right? You have applications on the servers in your organization, you have application in the cloud, right? You need a way for them to access these devices, access these resources, but they're only allowed to access certain things. So you make a list of what they're supposed to access, what they need to do their job, and that's all they get access to, nothing else. And they have to, every time they access these things, they have to authenticate themselves when they access it. And it's not that you authenticate yourself one time, it's continuous. So if there's any changes in their access to these resources, it shuts them out. Now, it sounds complicated, but there's brokers that do this stuff. I don't know if I'm going to be able to give you a list. All right, I'll find it here. But I know that Cloudflare does it, so they do it. And then there's other substitute to VPNs that do it. All right, I might look into that today and tell you some of the names, but let's just keep on topic. So it's very restrictive, right? People don't have access to what they need to do their job and nothing else, and they have to authenticate themselves. So let me give you an example of what it looks like. You have Bobby. Bobby is I don't know Bobby. I would say salesperson, but I don't know what the intricate parts of sales are. So say Bobby is a somebody in our workplace, and he has he goes to different clients and he talks to clients a lot. So he does marketing or whatever, right? So he goes out there and he has a laptop that the company gives him, right? So that he can phone home basically. You have applications that you have to put customer information and all that other stuff, right? So he's in his car, he's driving around, he goes to different places, and they need Wi-Fi, sometime at the coffee shop or whatever, or his phone, he's tethered from his phone, whatever he does, to get the job done. How does this work? Well, once he leaves the office, he leaves the castle, he leaves the perimeter, he's out there into the world, right? He has to phone home, he has to tap back in. He's going on the computer, putting in his credential. He puts his name, Bobby, whatever, and he asks for his password, put his password in, then it's going to say, okay, authenticate. Second form of authentication. Maybe get a code in his phone, maybe you got to use a biometric thing, and he does that, right? So it does that. It verifies that he is Bobby's accessing, customer data, customer portal, right? He can't go look at anything else other than the customer portal, or he can't look at anything else other than his list of customers, because it's already set up on the network side what he has access to, right? So he's checking on that, right? It makes sure that he got that connection going on, right? He said, okay, let me look at somebody call him and say, hey, you want to look at this customer for me? If he's not assigned to the other customer, he can't look at the other customer because he doesn't have an authorization for that. But maybe he makes a phone call to the IT guys or somebody else and say, hey, Jimmy want me to look at this customer. They can temporarily give him access to that customer for, maybe the day. And then after that, his access is revoked and he can't do it again another time. The point I'm trying to make is that not only that, when he logs in from his computer to look at the customer portal, before he even gets, after he does his login and his password and his two-step authentication, the system checks his hardware, make sure it's up to date. All the drivers are up to date. All the OS is up to date. Maybe have a antivirus running on it. Recommend the antivirus, or maybe has Windows Essential running on it. However, it's a Mac, whatever Mac version of that is, right? It checks that. You can even have it say, okay, yes, you have to be in Jersey, or you have to be in Pennsylvania, or you have to be in Ohio for even access anything. So see, you have those two things working. The biometric works, the password work, the computer's up to date, but he's in Ohio. No, you won't read it. You only can log into the system if you're in Jersey or if you're in Pennsylvania. So the point I'm trying to make is it adds layers and it segment everybody, because it's saying that I don't trust people outside the castle, nor do I trust people inside the castle. Right? I trust no one. That's why it's called zero trust security or zero trust network or zero trust architecture. Now, the reason why it's not just one thing you purchase and you get this. You have to teach, you have to implement multiple different things. It's a strategy, in a sense, to really achieve this. Now, you can go online and find a bunch of papers on this or people's different lists or whatever to start doing this. This is not hard. As far as like finding resources, I published a white paper on this myself. But it's doable in a lot of ways. You can go Google it and see what ZTES is out there that you can use to really create a zero trust security approach to your business. Because really and truly, this really not here the thing about it. It's not going to eliminate security. It's always going to be people going to probably figure out a way to get around this stuff. But it dramatically reduces the chance of you getting hacked. Now, one of the ideas about this is like in this policy or in this approach, you don't say I'm going to do this and then I'm never going to get hacked again. You still, like how I always say it, like it's not a matter of you're not going to get hacked. It's a matter of when, right? So you if you segment things this way, all right, let me put it like this. In security, there is once someone gets into your network, they can move laterally. This is called lateral. So what happens is that once they get one machine and they're inside the network, they can go to other machines and compromise other machines, right? So with this zero trust security, right, you eliminate that lateral move, right? Because you're securing each device, each person, all these different things are getting, all these locks on these different things. So it's hard if you get one person. It's kind of hard for you to laterally move to somebody else because you have to go through all these different things to get to. So it's kind of dramatically reduce. How do I say it? You know, like you have like an explosion. You know, you have the debris, the blast range. It reduces the blast range. So that's kind of how I would word it. So I do a lot of analogy in this, but I want to get the idea of what we're talking about. We're talking about zero trust networks or zero trust security. So again, it's not one application you can buy. There's people out there that implement some aspects of this, like I said, Cloudflare does it, and as far as VPN substitute that does it, I think. Let me see. If I can type it in here. VPN substitute. Oh, let's type this in. Let's try zero trust VPN solution. So when you talk about zero trust, it's called zero trust network. ZTNA is secure remote access technology that replacing VPNs. ZTA is based on principle of never trust, always verify, while VPNs typically trust users once they have authenticated. We've talked about that before. So let's see what we have as far as, like I said, Cloudflare does it, and who else does it? Zscaler, right? And who else? I think Nets KOPE does it, right? So you got a couple of guys out there that has a zero trust. And again, it's not that you can go on Cloudflare and you get it and that's it. You have to worry about it again. You have to actually have other policies in place, not just that. So it's not one that you can purchase and that's solve the problem. But the point is that with zero trust network, it ridiculously reduces the chances of you getting tampered with. And remember, we talked about this when I was talking about VPN and also when I was talking about security networks, is because I never wanted I don't like how they promoted or they marketed VPNs. So you see how I'm telling you that, okay, yeah, VPNs are not for this. People use it for that, but that's not what it's for. Now I'm telling you that when you're looking up, you're trying to do some kind of remote connection to your devices or your remote connection from your people in the field, you're not gonna get a VPN. You're gonna get a software that implements the zero trust network topology or the zero trust network access. So you're gonna get something on that level, like your Cloudflare or something in that lines. That way you authenticate multiple levels, right? You also make sure that the device that they're on is secure, and you also make sure that they're in the location they're supposed to be, because again, these are the things that you need to verify before you have any access to anything on the network. And the thing about that also, you understand also, not only do they have access to certain things on the network, only certain things they're supposed to have access to. The minimum things that they need to do the job is the only thing they should be able to see. Nothing else. And you have to implement this in this way. Now, what's the downside to this? The downside to this is that they really can't help each other that easily. Things are going to be slower. They're going to be a lag, right? You're going to lose some performance, right, in this process. But you're secure. Now you have to ask yourself how on the scale of pros and cons, how does that work? That's why I'm saying, like, it's not for everybody. Because again, when I said that there's no solutions in life, all I'm saying is that you have a problem, you're going to pick a solution, quote unquote, in your mind. It's not going to fix the problem altogether. You might fix the problem itself, but it's going to create another problem somewhere else or another issue. Can you deal with the other issue it creates? That's why I say there's no solutions in life, only trade-offs. What's the trade-off? Can you live with the trade-off? To me, depending on the business, this might be a trade-off you want to live with. Like, yeah, I'm going to lose some productivity, but I'm secure. You can't lose, right? You can live with that. So, yes, it's something you guys should look into, something you should really consider as a business. I mean, it depends on how, mission critical or how secure you want to be or whatever. This is a go-to thing, right? And a lot of these things are not that even expensive. A lot of these remote access solutions are not really that expensive. So, I think I forgot what the other one was. I know one of them is like you can use up to 5 clients for free, right? And it's cool. But again, these things you can't do. You won't be able to do it yourself. You're gonna need somebody to come in and set these up. You're gonna need somebody to come in and set up, or at least help you with your zero trust network accesses or zero trust network topologies. You're gonna need somebody to help you, walk you through the plan, and then you have to do constant training with your team to make sure that they understand what we're doing, how we're approaching this whole thing, because of you don't want to achieve and your goals, right? So that's something you need to work through. But like I said, it's very useful, and so how they market VPNs as a secure tunnel, which I said was malarkey. This is a secure tunnel, right? And this is not malarkey. So there are tunnels involved in this, but it's tunnels that's constantly checking who you are, right? There's like the tunnel, but there's like cops, in the tunnel. Like there's a whole bunch of checkpoints. You will see those old World War II films where there are people going around in jeeps, or people trying to like migrate from one place to another place because of war, and they have like checkpoints, and you have like these soldiers checking their paperwork to make sure that they can go. This is what most happened during occupied France, or during the Nazis in World War II. They used to have like a bunch of people checking paperwork all the time to make sure who you are, who you're supposed to be. It's kind of like that. Maybe Nazis is not a good example to use, but still, right? It's just a constant verification of who you are, and anytime that changes for any reason, the tunnel collapse. So look into it, right? Zero Trust Network, ZTNA, right? Secure access to technology or resources, right? Again, it is not software per se. It is principles or policies or architecture. So there's multiple things you have to put in place to achieve this, right? Okay, like I always say, stay productive. This is a really good one. I enjoy this because I enjoy this one because I get to do a lot of analogies. I like the concept of the castle, right? And I like that because that really is how a network is set up. It's set up like a castle with all these different things outside to protect people who are coming in, but people who are inside we don't really worry about. Which is the difference between the perimeter network, which we have been using for centuries, for a long time, and now this zero trust network, which we have. They still have the castle, we still have the moat, we still have the alligators, but we don't trust the people or inside either. We don't trust the court jester, we don't trust the sentries, we don't trust anybody inside, we don't even trust the queen. Okay, we don't trust anybody. So like I always say, stay productive.